You don't know me, but I know you.
My name is very fucking confused. What's your name?
You wanna play games, motherfucker?
I went to bed in my shithole apartment and woke up in an actual shithole.
Congratulations. You are still alive.
Fix me, motherfucker!
He looks crazier than a sack full of cats.
You're not Jigsaw,
I call that epic bad luck.
Use your shirt.
It's wood. Plaster. I'm gonna kill your husband now, Mrs. Gordon. The only door you know how to open is between your legs.
I did not cheat on her!
I don't give a crap if you covered yourself in peanut butter and had a 15-hooker gangbang.
Those who don't appreciate life do not deserve life.
Your policy! It's bullshit!
You're the scary voice.
Oh, yes. There will be blood. Let the game begin.
Hello and welcome, everybody, to episode 2 of the Jigsaw Files podcast. I'm your host, Chris.
And I'm Madison Estes. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so we had a lot of fun on our first episode. That was a chance for you guys to kind of get to know us a little bit and our level of Saw fandom, I guess you could say. Tonight's going to be kind of like that, too. We're going to give you a little bit of our personal taste in some of these movies because in this episode, we're going to be doing our top 3 favorite traps from each movie. So now me and Madison were talking about what episode 2 should be, and I said something like, hey, we should do like a top 10 favorite traps in the franchise. And then you said,
yeah, I was thinking that's just, first of all, like I was thinking about how hard it was to vote on the traps when we did the Saw competition a couple years ago.
yes.
And then I was like, why not just do top 3 from every film? Because that seems like a lot more manageable. And that way we could talk about each film, too, as we're going. So
yeah, it's definitely more interesting for sure because you don't see that kind of ranking very often. So I thought that was a fun idea. Yeah. So we're definitely going to do that. First off, how you been doing since our last episode? What's been up? What have you been up to?
I've been good. I'm working on a short story collection, so I've just been writing a bunch of stories. I'm writing one right now. It reminds me a little bit of Saw 6. It's about a guy who works in a healthcare company, sort of having to reckon with what he's done. So yeah, I mean, it's impossible for me not to think about Saw 6, but it's more of a paranormal thing. So I've just been doing that mostly, and just trying to I got sick a couple weeks ago, so just trying not to fall behind.
Oh, yeah.
Laundry and life stuff, too. Yeah. But I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Just been like working and then trying to like watch some movies when I can. Like I'm gonna watch. But the day that we're recording this, I'm gonna be watching 28 Years Later sometime this weekend. So that's gonna be fun. I'm excited to check that out because I haven't watched that one yet. But have you had a chance to check out Darren and Josh's podcast that I talked about in our first episode?
No, I totally forgot. I need to do that.
They're about like 6 weeks in now of it, and I think they have their idea of what the movie's going to be about. So if you guys are not caught up with Darren and Josh Make a Movie, Darren Lynn Bousman and Josh Stolberg, some Saw alum there, they got their own podcast together, and they're taking the audience on the ride of making a movie. So I thought that was pretty cool. But I'm caught up with it. I got a little behind for like 2 or 3 weeks there. It took me a couple days to kind of watch some of the episodes, but I am caught up, and it's a pretty fun little show. So yeah, that's definitely cool. But so yes, guys, we're gonna be ranking our top 3 traps from each film. We'll go top 3 from Saw 1, then Saw 2, and then and so on. But we do have to establish a couple ground rules here.
There are rules.
It's the rules.
We are gonna have a couple honorable mentions. At least I do, right? I don't know about you, but
Yeah.
So, and we really have to set the line between game and trap because we're not going to be talking about games mainly. But we were talking about something off air before we started recording. What did you want to say about that?
Yeah, so I was torn because I was like, I love Amanda's game, or her test in the third one, but like that's so basic that it's like kind of difficult to rank it with things like the rack and the angel trap and stuff. But then, like, I feel like in Saw, there's so few games that I kind of want to include the bathroom game as one because there's just, like, there's so few of them. And that one feels like it's halfway between trap and game because it's very clear what Dr. Gordon at least has to do.
Right.
Unlike some of the other games, which are a lot more secretive and there's twists and turns, and Dr. Gordon's is pretty straightforward. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I think that's fair. I don't have the bathroom anywhere on my list. I didn't put it on there, but if you want to put it on yours, I think that's fine for this one. And guys, we want you to let us know in the comments your guys' list as well. And one more thing I do want to mention before we start, I did get the first episode up on Spotify, so this one will be going up on Spotify as well. You can leave a comment there as well if you want to do it that way, or just want to listen to an audio only version of it. But all right, let the game begin here. Let's get into Saw 1. Do you want to do worst to best or best to worst?
Let's do best to worst. I think that would be easier.
Let's do best to worst. Okay. Go ahead. So your number 1 from Saw 1.
Reverse Bear Trap. I mean, that one is just kind of a no-brainer. I think when we did the competition, I think that was even the most iconic of the whole series. It just, everything about the way it's shot. You have those 360 very choppy edits that Kevin did that just adds this intense feeling. And I think that's really also the scene where you get to figure out who this character is, because at that point it was just two guys stuck in a bathroom, and even if you watch the trailer, it's like, okay, this dude's a serial killer. He wants them to cut through their feet. He's a psycho. And then after that scene, it's like, oh, he's trying to help these people in his own twisted way. And that's really the scene where we see, who John Kramer is and what he's about. And, that's also whenever we see Billy, I think, for the first time.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, everything about that scene is perfection. And that's my top for the whole film.
Yeah. So I'm going to agree with you, and I think for at least the first couple movies, our lists are going to be fairly close. But like once we get into like Saw 4, Saw 5, I think we're going to have some different answers. But my number 1 for Saw 1 is also the Reverse Bear Trap. To kind of echo what you were talking about, it's so iconic. The look, the way it's lit. I love I love when Saw has green, man. I love my Saw greens and blues and yellows, and it adds so much to the atmosphere. But the green works very well for this scene here. I love the debut of Billy. I do wish he was still wearing the hat that he was wearing in the original short film, but that's fine. And we do have producer Orrin Cools from Twisted Pictures in there as Donnie, the guy that Amanda thought was dead, but wasn't actually dead. Jigsaw's a fucking liar, by the way. It's in the stomach of your dead soulmate. He ain't dead.
He meant dead on the inside. He was being metaphorical. Dead on the inside.
Yeah, I guess. But no, it's an iconic scene. So yeah, for me it has to be. And again, one of the first images I saw from the first Saw movie was in the theater, and it was a poster of Shawnee in the Reverse Bear Trap. I mean, that's how they sold the movie, and it worked. So yeah, number 1 is the Reverse Bear Trap. Your number 2, I have a feeling our number 2s are going to be different on this one, but your number 2 favorite trap.
Yeah, because you didn't include the bathroom game and I did. Okay. So, and that, sorry. But I also think that if you're considering it two people's traps or games, that Dr. Gordon's is more compelling, because Adams is just stay alive, which is... Didn't put a whole lot of thought into that one, did you, John?
Yeah, well, we're going to go into that book of Saw for sure.
Dr. Gordon's is just, it's a little more complicated. It's, you haven't valued your life or your family. You don't value life that much at all for a doctor, and I've also had, I think I relate a little bit more to this one too this year. I've had a lot of doctor's appointments with doctors that are like, see me for 2 minutes after I wait to see them for an hour. And they're like, okay, here's a referral to another doctor. And it's like, but you know what to do for this procedure. You could do it yourself, but they don't want to deal with it. So like, I don't know. I think the next time I watch Saw, I'm going to be like, fuck Dr. Gordon.
A man has his hand on the doorknob half the time that I'm there.
Exactly. I thought that line has played in my head a couple times this year.
I mean, the man has his hand on the doorknob half the time that I'm there.
So I love the fact that, you know, he's a doctor who...
My name is Lawrence Gordon. I'm a doctor. Sorry.
My name is Lawrence Gordon. I'm a doctor.
I had to.
Like, yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's okay. Ignoring the affair, because that's a big part of it, is, you know, like, oh, I didn't sleep with her, you know, like, ignoring that whole part of it even, you know, like, he's kind of a dick, and he's not really invested in his life, and I like the idea of, you have to get invested now if you want to keep it. So that's why I vote that as my second one.
It is a great pick. Mine might be a little bit of a hot take. My number 2 favorite trap in the original Saw, my boy Drill Chair Jeff, the drill chair. Now, I'm not kidding, because I think it's like brilliant when you really like stop and think about it. Because on the surface, like it sounds like really, it's like why is he in Jigsaw's lair? Like what is the point of this? Like that was my initial reaction, and it kind of stayed that way for a couple years. It wasn't until I was watching it when I was starting to like dive deeper into doing this whole Saw timeline project where I'm like, no, there's actually a purpose for Drill Chair Jeff. Because the way I look at it, and I'll talk about this more in the timeline, but he's there as bait because he knows, as we see in Saw 5, Hoffman lets John know that, hey, Tap is closing in, he's getting real close. So he's like, okay, I need to figure out how far the cops are willing to go to catch me. So he sets up Drill Chair Jeff. He sets off the fire alarm so they can track it. They go to the workshop. He's like, now you'll make a choice. You're either gonna, or he's like, what's more important, you know, arresting me or the life of another human being? So he's literally like, this is a test for the cops, really. So because of that reason, and it was so much deeper than I initially thought it was, I gotta give it to my boy Drill Chair Jeff for my number 2 favorite trap, because I think that's such a cool idea to do it that way.
Yeah, I like how you say, like, it's a test for the cops, because I kind of always thought of it as, like, yeah, Jeff's just bait, and it's just a distraction technique so he can get away. And it kind of is, but you're right, it is also a test for the cops. Like, what's more important to you, you know, catching me and...
He needed to know what they were going to do, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think you might have sold me. I don't know if I'd put it in my top 3, at least it wouldn't beat my top 2, but I do think that is, I appreciate that a lot more now that you put it that way.
Okay, well, to be fair, the original Saw has like 4 or 5 traps, you know, so to be fair.
and also, you know, you didn't even get into the crazy Reddit or HOJ too, crazy Drill Chair Jeff is actually Jigsaw theories that also made me appreciate that a little more. I love those theories so much, so I think Drill Chair Jeff has a special place in our hearts as well for that.
Absolutely. All right, so did you give your number 2? Oh yeah, you said the bathroom, right? So your number 3 from the original Saw
is the razor wire trap. Yeah, I love, again, the way it's shot. We don't even actually really see it happening. We just see Paul wake up in it, and then we see, like, through flashbacks, parts of the tape, and then we get that crazy editing that Kevin does, where just a bunch of flash forwards, where he's just, like, you know, shaking and screaming, and you get the impression that he lost it and went through it way too fast and, you know, bled out probably way before the 3 hours was even up. And, just the way it's shot is great. And I love, of course, the irony that he's suicidal. He's probably one of the most sympathetic Jigsaw test subjects ever, because he's depressed, you know, like that's his whole thing, is that he's just depressed. And he cuts himself because he's suicidal. And, you know, the irony that if you do it again and again, maybe you'll get to live this time, and maybe you'll want to live. You know, that's what John wants, basically. It's almost like a really messed up rehab. But
it is.
Yeah. So I liked it for that reason. Just the irony of it and how well it's shot.
Yeah, this one was a little tough for me because I was back and forth between pretty much the last 2 traps of the movie here. I like the flammable jelly trap, but the fact is, I like it because I've did the research on it, like the background. If you just watch the movie on its own, you don't get like all that background information about software analyst Mark Wilson. But so, and for that reason, because we don't get that context in the movie, I can't go with the flammable jelly trap on my number 3, so I'm going to give it a quick honorable mention right now. I do like the trap. I wish we would have saw a little bit more of it. Wish we would have gotten his background a little bit more, because I had to do all that work myself. But overall, I do like the trap, but I also got to go with my number 3 being the razor wire maze as well. It's a very simple idea. Like, you got this guy in a cage of barbed wire, and he's got to get out before like the clock goes to a certain time, or else it's going to be locked in there forever. Like, that's one of my favorite things you'll notice throughout this list is I really like the small and simple traps of this series. You know, simplicity I think is the best with Saw. Because you're like, oh shit, if you would have just done this, or you know, you're always trying to think yourself like, what can I do? What couldn't I do? Could I get out of this? Could I not get out of this? With some of the more elaborate traps that we see in like say Saw 3D, I just be like, well, this is just stupid anyway. Like, but something like the barbed wire maze, I do think it still is effective, even though we don't see the full thing. I think we get enough to like really get the impact of the scene. So I'm gonna go the razor wire maze on that one as well.
Yeah, I like the flammable jelly test, game, but I don't know. Just for me, it didn't hit as hard. I think you're right. I think because we don't really know that much about the character, other than he's committed insurance fraud, I believe. So like, it's just he doesn't. I don't know. With Paul, he's just so much more sympathetic because he's suicidal. So he's really a victim who's being tested, as opposed to someone that's a criminal, which is more John's MO. But even, I don't know, even that very, very small glimpse we saw of Paul is just the way he even acted too. It's just like, man, you feel bad for him.
Yeah. So quick recap. What were your 3 for Saw 1 again?
Reverse bear trap, Saw bathroom game, and razor wire.
Okay, and then for me, it was the reverse bear trap, the drill chair, and the razor wire maze. All right, so let's move into Saw 2. This one should be interesting because I feel like we might have the same 3, but not necessarily in the same order. So I'm curious to see how Saw 2 is going to play out. But again, if you still want to go best to worst, your number 1 from Saw 2.
My number 1 is the needle pit trap. By far, I think that's one of the best ones in the whole series. Again, we have that ironic twist. It was supposed to be Xavier, who's a drug dealer, having to go down into the pit and be stuck with needles, just like all of the people that he sold drugs to. And, you know, he throws Amanda in there instead, so we also have a twist on top of it. And, you know, I just think that the way that it's executed, Shawnee Smith's acting, for one thing, just brings it to a whole new level. And, you know, and then the way that, you know, Daniel also is like screaming and someone help her. It's also a really great moment of compassion because we don't really see that many moments where the people that are being tested together are truly, you know, feeling grief for one another or feeling empathy. So it's just a great moment all around.
Yeah. My number 1 is also the needle pit because not only is this my favorite trap in Saw 2, it's in my top 3 of the whole franchise. That's how much I love the needle pit scene. Because again, it's supposed to be Xavier's, and then Amanda gets thrown in there. Fun fact: Shawnee was pregnant during the scene. Not even Darren knew at the time that they filmed this. But like, she really she went for it. She's a trooper, and she was sick when she did the reverse bear trap in the first one. She was like sick as a dog, and she pulled through it. Thank God she did, because now she's a super villain. And then going into Saw 2, she gets thrown in a pit pregnant. So like that is great. And then you're right. When we see like these group of players together in a game, I'm thinking like the Fatal Five or the people in the barn in Jigsaw. Like, you don't really get that compassion. There are moments where like Anna and Mitch are kind of friends in Jigsaw a little bit. Those two are kind of trying to work together. But like like when Daniel's getting upset, he's like, what the fuck, guys? Like, come on, what are we doing? And then Jonah's trying to get everybody together, like, all right, we need to sit and talk, that whole thing. You don't see that a lot in this franchise, and that you see that a lot in the needle pit scene.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really effective. It's really gross. And a lot of people are afraid of needles. Again, it's a simple thing, but like there are a lot of people who have a fear of needles, and to be in a whole pit of them, like imagine, like for me, needles are fine, but I just imagine being somebody who is afraid of needles while watching that scene. It's nuts. So yeah, my number one has also got to be the needle pit. Your number two.
My number two is the opening trap, the death mask or Venus flytrap, however you want to call it. I love that one. For one thing, I think it's one of the most iconic of the series. That's the one that Scary Movie, I think, makes fun of the most, where Cindy's got the fake eye and she pops it out. And she's like, oh, no problem. And she just pulls the key out.
Soldier, get in here. This one's gonna do it.
Fake eye. Bad bar fight 96.
It's that iconic. And I think the way it's shot again with the really fast turns, it's very frantic and panicky, and it's really intense, the effect that they managed to achieve with those fast shots back and forth. And again, it's kind of simple, one of the more simple traps, and I think it's great. I don't necessarily think that like the victim in there's no backstory or anything. It's an opening trap, but so there's not like really a lot of poeticness other than I think the fact that he was an informant, so having to cut out his eye.
Yep.
There's a little poeticness in that, which I enjoy, but yeah, we don't necessarily feel a lot of empathy for him because he's not really developed, and we don't even know his backstory at the time. Well, no, that's right. It's in the tape. Okay, we do know. But I think that it's just done really, really well, and the concept is fantastic as well. So.
Yeah, I do like the Venus flytrap, and maybe I'll talk about it a little bit more in just a minute here. But it does almost kind of feel like, oh, they're trying to recapture the magic of the reverse bear trap scene, and they're sticking it like right out of the jump. Like that's kind of what it feels like at first. Again, as you said, we don't get too much about his character. We kind of find out a little bit more later, but we do find out a little bit in the tape. I do love Jigsaw when he's being ironic, and because of that, my number two is going to be the furnace, because Abby was an arsonist, and now he's got to crawl into this furnace. I love the furnace scene. I think Abby is a fun character who we don't get enough of. That dude's a sicko. I would have loved to have explored Abby a little bit more. But again, this whole thing of, remember, Obi, once you are in hell, only the devil can help you out. And then once he gets in the furnace and, things are on fire, you see that little drawing of the devil pointing like, hey, twist here. Like, all he's got to do is crawl through that, get burnt up a little bit, and then twist it off. And yet he can't do it. And again, being an arsonist, somebody who clearly loves fire, like he's fucking Beavis from Beavis and Butthead.
Whoa, fire! Yeah, fire! 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 Fire.
And yet he still can't keep himself to crawl through it. And then again, talking about the group again, I love when Xavier's like, he's in there with the fucking needles. He's got the fucking
Needles! He got the fucking needles! He's fucking in there! I want the fucking needles! I want the fucking needles!
And yeah, so it's just a really fun scene in general without the trap, but I do think the furnace is a really cool, and again, it's a simple trap, so that's another thing I appreciate about it. So that's my number two. Okay, your number three.
My number three is the furnace, for all the things that you said, and also, yeah, I agree. Albie's just such an interesting character, and I wish he'd stayed a little bit longer, but maybe part of his appeal is that he's so mysterious, so threatening, and then just like that, he's just gone. And then Xavier's the new, and even Xavier's freaked out by him. So that's like just extra shocking when like the big alpha male that everybody's intimidated by is like, oh, you're fucked up. So they have great chemistry. And then Also, I went to the Saw escape room, and there's the furnace is in that, and I had to like crawl inside of it to get a clue to go to the next room. So it holds
that's so cool.
It holds a special place in my heart for that reason too. I noticed that when I was doing all of these, I'm like, all the ones they recreated for the escape room, I'm like, there's a little part of me that's like, I probably like this trap a little bit more than I should because I feel like I was there. But so I have to admit that. But yeah, that's just a fantastic trap. Everything about it was well done. And then of course the ending too, when he's reaching his arm out, even though he's a sicko and you have no reason to feel sorry for him, there's still a part of you that's just like, damn, to be that desperate, you know, it's a little heart-wrenching. And then of course that's followed immediately by like, you know, Xavier, where's the fucking needle?
I fucking love it. All right. So my number 3 is going to be the Venus flytrap. As I said, I do like the trap, but it is my, I guess, least favorite in the top 3 here because it's still a good trap. And again, eyes. Eyes is another thing that a lot of people get freaked out over. Eyes, toes, fingers. We're going to talk about some of the tongues. We're going to talk about that kind of stuff kind of as we go. But eyes are a big one. And look, there's a lot of the Saw traps I feel confident that I would at least try, even if I don't succeed. I could at least try it and be okay. Trying to cut behind my eye, no fucking thanks. So immediately I'm just like, yeah, no, this trap's effective because I couldn't do that shit, and neither could Michael. So, you know, it's fine. But yeah, the Venus flytrap, it is a fun trap, but I also, again, kind of feel like that they are trying to kind of redo the reverse bear trap magic a little bit there. But yeah, okay, and you had no honorable mentions for Saw 2?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so your top 3 for Saw 2 once again.
The needle pit, the death mask, and then the furnace.
Okay, for me it was the needle pit, and then at number 2 was the furnace, and then number 3 was the Venus flytrap. So, all right, Saw 3, 2006. You know, I still remember like the synopsis of this movie. It's like Jigsaw and Amanda have disappeared or something like that. Like that's how it starts. But yeah, Saw 3. This is an interesting one because we got some pretty gross stuff in Saw 3. Saw 3 is actually my favorite Saw movie. I wouldn't say it's like the best. I still think Saw 1 is the best, but in terms of personal favorites, for me it's Saw 3. But yeah, the traps are definitely pretty gross in this one. So I'm curious to know, what is your favorite trap in Saw 3?
This one was hard. This is the first 2. I just hardly even had to think about it. This one I sat and I just really had to sit there and think about it. And especially among my top 3, but I have to give it to the rack because I love the simplicity of it. Even though most of these traps take place in like a whole room. This is, I think, the first time we've had traps that are just like, you know, entire cinematic scenes in and of themselves instead of it feeling like it's just a device on someone or like something they have to stick their hands into. But the rack, you know, it's fairly simple still. And, you know, the acting in it is fantastic. Obviously, you disregard all the things that are happening during that scene with Jeff, who has to stick his arm and take a bullet for the man that killed his son if he wants to save him. And I also liked the fact that Jeff kind of I don't say outsmarted, because I think that John considered he might do it, but he was more intelligent than some other people in that he unhooks the key instead of, you know, and then leans to the side and somebody else gets the bullet.
Yeah, the judge, which fuck that guy anyway. I love how Jeff's like, got the key.
Got the key.
Even like flinch when the judge dies. He's just like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have saved that guy anyways.
No.
Yeah, the judge was so unlikable in that scene because like you'll go to jail for murder.
Jeff! Just standing there, you're an accomplice to murder.
Are you a murderer?
Too. I'm like, that's not the way to get him to do what you want him to do. You don't threaten him. And I don't remember what else he said, but everything he said was just the wrong thing to say to a man that's having to, you know, decide to save the guy that killed his kid. Like, everything he said was wrong. But I think that helps because you know, it makes that moment that much more powerful when Jeff does decide to do the right thing. So.
Yeah, the rack is a great one. If I talk to people who have, you know, watched most of the Saw movies, maybe not all of them, but if they've seen Saw 3, like, they really tend to like the rack. And I think it's because it's not just the fact that it's a gross, cool trap, but it's also the emotional depth behind the scene too, because again, it is just a guy who has to choose to forgive, you know, the person who killed his son. And Jigsaw even says on the tape, he's like, look, his life also changed on that day too. He was a young, healthy, happy medical student, and his life got fucked up over it. He went to jail, he did his time, now he's out and trying to move on with his life. And there's a lot going on in just like the layers of it as well. And not to mention the fact that it is really gross, and the way the things twist and you see the bones pop out, it's great stuff. I love it, and I'll talk about the rack again here in a minute. A little spoiler alert, but the rack's a great pick. But for me, my number one, I had to give this one, and this was hard. This was a tough decision, as you said. I got to give it to the Chain Trap, Troy, J.J. LaRose, because again, this is another one where I feel like I could pull out some of those chains and be okay, but like you get to the one in like the lip and stuff, or like the one, yeah, the jaw one's a bad one too. The Achilles heel, like there's some of those chains I'll be like, yeah, no, I give up now, I'm done. But and again, I like the whole meaning behind that trap as well, about how Troy had spent his life in and out of prison, so Jigsaw's like, maybe you're just more comfortable in chains. So again, I like when Jigsaw's being ironic, and we kind of lose that a lot as we kind of go later in the series, but it's definitely present in the first three especially. Yeah, for me, I gotta go the Chain Trap as my number one. All right, so you're number two.
That is a good one. Well, real quick, because that was not on my list, so it might not come back up. I want to say another thing I like about that trap, even though it didn't make my top three, because this is just such a competitive film for great traps, is that's also the first trap that's rigged, I believe, or at least the first one we see, because Carrie mentions that he couldn't get out even if he wanted to, and that's a chilling moment that takes place right after. Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
for sure. My second is the Angel Trap with Carrie. I think that visually it's just stunning, and I have to admit the visuals for this one is probably a big reason why I rank it so high, because it's just a gorgeous film. I mean, a gorgeous scene. Disturbing, obviously, but like the execution of like her ribs breaking open and the angel wings and the lighting, it's just gorgeous, like in a depraved way. And then there's the fact that, you know, you have Amanda down there too, and Carrie has that moment where she gets to see, you know, who the accomplice is that's been helping John, and because at that point it was only speculated, I think. And that's also a really good moment too, and kind of heartbreaking, I think. And I think we were all kind of heartbroken in that scene. I think that at that point, like, there was some part of the fan base that thought she was going to be the one that either brings Jigsaw in or
she
somehow
should have been
instrumental. Yeah, so clearly people are still feeling emotional about this 20 years later.
A little bit.
Yeah. So I think that it was also, even that we didn't need to know, like, I mean, her reason for being tested was like she works too much. Like, couldn't come up with anything better.
Pretty
John.
much.
But
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, but like, you know, we've bonded with her because she's been with us since the first film, and she's a really good detective, and I think she's smart too. Like, even from the first film, you just get this impression she knows her shit. Yeah. And, you know, you wanted to see her succeed, and for her to actually do it, and you think, even though you know some of the traps are rigged now, you're like, oh, she did it. She got the key. And then when we see it actually happen, it's devastating. So.
Yeah. I was gonna say, yeah, she pretty much just got in there. It's like, hey, you work too much. I would argue there's a little bit more to it than that, but again, that's a Book of Saw project thing that we'll dive into for sure. But yeah, she is very, very smart, and I think that's part of the reason she got killed. To be quite honest with you, because she was a bit too smart for her own good. Because now remember, Hoffman was there in the aftermath of the chain trap. He definitely saw how close that she was getting, and I guarantee you he had something to do with it. But we'll talk about all that at another time. Yeah. In fact. I could say more about the angel trap, but I'm going to wait a little bit. But my number 2, we got to go back to the rack because that is my number 2 pick. Again, everything that we were talking about before, it's just an emotional scene. The gore's really good. I love the sound design, the way like the cogs are turning and how the bones sound when they pop out of his arm and stuff like that. Jeff's moment of the whole got the key and the judge dies, like, oh, he didn't care about that guy. It's funny because like even in the pig vat when like the judge is screaming like help me, you can hear Jeff at one point go shut the fuck up. So like, and he still saves this guy.
Fuck you!
Shut the fuck up. But
Oh man.
so yeah, the rack scene again. We kind of pretty much talked about my points of it already, but it's a great scene, and I almost put it at number 1, but I just couldn't. I had to put the chain trap over it, but that is my number 2. It was a hard decision though. All right. So your number 3.
My number 3, this might be a hot take for some people, but for me it's the pig vat. Where the judge is on the bottom and it's filling up with pig guts, which probably one of the worst ways to die. We don't think about it that much because I don't think that it's as, stunning as some of the other traps or as gory, but drowning in pig guts has got to be one of the worst ways to go. And then of course, for me, what makes this so good is the fact that Jeff has to burn all of his kids' possessions and the ones that he was so upset about. He didn't even want his daughter touching them because he's still so emotionally attached to these objects, more so than, he cares about his daughter's feelings, at least in that moment. And, pictures of his son, too. I'm not sure if I could do it. Like, for me, I think I would probably try to save Danica. I would probably even try to save Troy because it was what was the name of the
Timothy Young, Twisty Tim.
I can't remember.
I just call him Twisty Tim.
Timothy.
Old Twisty Tim.
Okay, yeah, Twisty Tim. But I don't know if I would be able to do that, to burn all of like the things that my kid loved to save this guy who was saying I was just doing my job. Like, he's not very sympathetic either. So he does not make a good case for himself even when he's down there. I think eventually he apologizes or, Jeff just decides to do the right thing. But I felt like, when he burned all of I felt a grief there with Jeff whenever he's watching the photographs burn and stuff. Especially back then, they didn't probably back up everything digital like we do now. Now that'd be kind of hard to do. So no, I can burn it. I'll just reprint it at Walgreens. But I'm assuming some of those things didn't have duplicates. So,
right.
So yeah, that's difficult. Like, you have to lose your son even more if you want to move on, which is really poetic, that having to let go to move on is kind of the whole theme of the movie. And so that's why I chose that as my 3rd pick.
That's a good pick. It's definitely gross. And again, it's a reason why Saw 3 is my personal favorite, is the emotional depth, not just with Jeff, but that goes with Amanda and John's relationship as well, with what Lynn's going through. It's just a very emotional, heavy movie. But in regards to the pig vat, again, while it is very deep and kind of sad in a way, because again, you have to burn your son's possessions. There is also a couple, like, just the way it kind of plays out, moments that make me laugh in it. And I think that kind of helps the scene a little bit. It's like when the judge is like, I'm a criminal court judge, for Christ's sake. Like, and then, you gave him 6 months or something like that, which is ridiculous, by the way. That's a whole other topic for another time. But, yeah, the pig vat, it's a good scene. I thought about putting that one on for a minute, but again, looking at my other three, I was just like, no, I feel like this is definitely the three. But the pig vat is a good choice. So, and speaking of, my number three is the Angel Trap with Carrie. It sucks to see her go because, you know, again, I was rooting for her to be the hero of this whole thing. She was very smart. She was tough. She didn't take no bullshit. And again, unfortunately, I think that's part of what got her killed. But her scene's so good. Again, I love my Saw Greens. So that's another plus. And again, her trap is not too difficult. It sucks, but it's not like a difficult thing to do to where you just got to put your hand in a jar. That she tried to be smart. She was gonna like tip it over a little bit, but it was kind of locked in place. But so I do love that moment of it as well. She actually gets it done. And you're like, all right, Carrie. Again, we've been with her for 3 movies now. I want to see her live. And she doesn't. And again, that wide shot of when we actually see the ribs come open, and you know all the meat's just kind of flapping there, and she's like hanging like this. It's beautifully shot the way it's done. So yeah, again, I hate seeing Carrie go, but it is such a great trap. So for me, my number 3 is the Angel Trap. All right, so your top 3 from Saw 3 again was?
My top 3 was the rack, the Angel Trap, and then the pig vat.
All right, and mine was the chain trap at number 1. Number 2, I had the rack, and number 3, I had the Angel Trap. Yeah, Saw 3 was difficult. that one was a little bit tougher. Now things are going to get interesting because now we're kind of at the point in the series where I feel like our lists are going to be pretty different for the most part.
Probably.
I'm very curious to know, what is your favorite trap in Saw 4?
So this one was hard, and I almost feel like I like them all pretty much the same. So, like, this is just my top 3, but they're all kind of just, like, for different reasons, I guess. But the first one I wrote, and the first one I thought of was the Mausoleum Trap. Another opening trap. I really like the way that it's shot. It's one of the, like, largest traps so far in the series, because, you know, we not only have the whole room takes up the trap, but now we have 2 people. And, you have one that has his mouth sewn shut, art blank, and then you have the other one has their eyes sewn shut. And I loved, the idea that he's a lawyer, like his whole job is communicating, but he can't use the one thing that he's always used to get himself out of trouble or to get other people out of trouble, to try to communicate what's going on to this guy who's clearly very scared. I also love, you've got the chains pulling them both towards the center. So the whole scene feels really intense. You don't know who these characters are yet, which might be the only thing the first time you're watching it that I would count against it. But it's still, you're just instantly drawn into the scene because it's so compelling. And, and I love the way that it's shot. It feels so intense. And then that scene at the end where he's pulling the chains off, but like his mouth is starting to bleed, so you're thinking that he's dead. It's a great misdirection that comes in later in the film, because you think that he's a goner, and then he shows up at the end and you're like, wait a minute. So or not at the end, like a little bit before the end, when they were
right
the guy in the hoodie. So and he's the one that you think is the new Jigsaw. So I think that it was done really well, and I think it's one of the better opening traps in the series.
That's an interesting one. I wouldn't have gone with the Mausoleum, actually. I don't really think about that trap too often. It doesn't really stand out much to me. It is a great scene when you're like when you pop on Saw 4 and you kind of kickstart with that. It's like, all right, this is a fun opener. But I don't have that one on my list, actually. My number 1. And again, like the Needle Pit, not only is this my favorite trap in this movie, it's one of my favorite traps in the franchise, is the knife chair with Cecil. I just love how personal it is. Again, you're going to hear me talk about story and characters and emotional depth. I love that stuff. I'm a sucker for it. So to have this personal vendetta between John and Cecil, it's his first Jigsaw victim, and he gives him his tape in person, which I thought was really interesting. It's a good conversation there. Like, John's trying to, like, teach him all these lessons, and he's like, do you understand? And he's like, yeah, you fucking nuts. And,
You understand what I'm saying to you?
understand?
You fucking nuts.
And Cecil's got some great one-liners like, I'm bleeding, man. Come on. Like, it's a really fun scene. And again, knives, it's the simplest damn thing. And all he's got to do is push his face through knives. It's gonna hurt, but it's definitely survivable for sure. Which again is interesting considering how angry that John is at Cecil. You would think that he would just want to kill him, but there's a part of him that doesn't. There's a part of him that wants him to survive and then change his life for the better, almost forgiving him. So I find that whole scene is just very interesting and fun. And so yeah, for me, my number one is the knife chair.
Yeah. I like I said, I kind of weigh these three equally in this film at least, and that was what I wrote down second was the knife chair. I agree for all the reasons you said, and I also love that line John says that now your face will be as ugly as your soul or something like that. I think that's great too. So he wants him to live and be better, but he also wants him to have a reminder for the rest of his life of what he did as well, which feels very fitting for what he did in that situation. Yeah, I agree. The knife chair is fantastic for all the reasons that you mentioned. It's a great one.
All right. And that was your number two, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. My number two is the spike trap. And again, some of these might not be the proper names, whatever. It's the one with Rex and Morgan in the school. Like, I think we all know which one that one is. Because, again, had I said the spike trap and Saw 7, we'd be having a different conversation. You're like, which one? They all got spikes. But the spike trap in Saw 4, again, I love the schoolhouse setting. It's literally right down the hall from where Troy's trap was, which I fucking love that little detail. That the caution tape is still on it. And the door's still welded down.
There's only so many buildings. Okay.
Yeah. So said he's only got one school. It's fine. But so yeah, I think it's a really good. And again, it's this whole theme about getting out of an abusive relationship, which we established earlier in the film in that flashback with Rigg and Hoffman and all that stuff like that. Like this guy's abusive. Like she's got to get away from him. And so the whole thing of like your scars will heal, but his will not. I think it's a great theme for the trap. And again, these little Saw moments where she's like, "Okay, here we go." Like,
oh yeah,
there's like so many moments like that in these movies that I just love. Some of them aren't supposed to be funny, but just like the way they're delivered, like, yeah, this is fun. So, but again, I just love that all she's got to do is like pull it out, and he's all like, "No, what are you doing?" And for me, that's just a great scene. I gotta go with the spike trap for my number two.
Yeah, that's what I put as well, and hearing you talk about it, even though I didn't rank these three are just my three favorites all tied. I think maybe I like this one a little bit more for all the reasons you said. I actually know a couple people in abusive relationships, and it's exactly like that. It's like you're going to go down with this person because you're so codependent and you can't leave them behind, and they might end up killing both of you because they're so destructive. And I also think that all the traps in the series, this is one of the most, one of the ones that I think you really kind of root for Jigsaw a little bit. Like, you're kind of like, sometimes he's got a point, and this is a really good one. You know, of all the rehab ones, like, you know, like with Paul, it's like, I get these trying to make him appreciate his life and stuff, but it's like, man, Paul's so sympathetic. And I guess she's a little sympathetic too, although the fact that she lets her daughter get beaten makes her a little bit kind of in between.
The fact that she stands with her husband during that, yeah. So it's like she's a victim, and you want her to be successful, but then you don't feel quite as bad because it's like, well, there's still a child that's suffering. So even if she dies, at least the child will be okay. So like of all the traps in the series, it's like this is the one that's like realistically speaking, this one feels the best because it's like either way that child's going to be protected. And hopefully, and the mom does manage to break away from him, so she's going to have a stable home now. It's a happy ending trap. We don't get a whole lot of those, but this one was not very often at all.
This one was a happy ending, and you know, the concept is great too. The fact that, you know, they have a doctor who tells them exactly where to put these poles so that one person will die and the other will just be injured. I think at the time, since Dr. Gordon wasn't confirmed, the speculation was crazy. Oh, you got to have some medical knowledge, and then we were like, no,
anything that involved like something medical, they're like, that's Dr. Gordon. It's got to be.
That's got to be Dr. Gordon. So that's great too, just from the concept alone. How great that the spikes will kill one, but only harm the other one. So yeah, it's a wonderful trap. It's absolutely one of the best.
All right. My number 3 is arguably one of the most satisfying traps of the franchise. Maybe not one of the best, but definitely one of the most satisfying, just due to how it ends. We have the bedroom trap with Ivan Lansness. Yeah. Again, you got the serial rapist. Even Riggs like, you know what? Yeah, no, fuck you. Here's your fucking thing. Do what you got to do. I'm fucking leaving. Right? I gotta go to the school. And again, it's not necessarily my favorite trap in the movie because it's just kind of on this bed and he's got to like hit these buttons and then like poke out his eyes or something like that. There's really not much to the trap itself, but because of who this guy is and how much you want this guy to suffer, I would say it's satisfying. So I put it on this list. I put it at number 3, but I wouldn't say it's like one of my favorite traps in the movie necessarily. I just find it to be satisfying. So I at least wanted to mention it. So that is my number 3.
Yeah, it is very satisfying. I think between Ivan's trap and the spike trap, I feel like these are very good. Like I could really understand why Jigsaw Hoffman thought he might be able to recruit Rig, because both of those are just so satisfying and so like this is a person that is really getting what they deserve, and this feels like justice more so than a lot of the other more morally ambiguous games and traps. So I think that definitely adds a little bit to the enjoyment factor for both the fans and also I think because it was intended to sort of be Rig's recruitment as well. So yeah.
So, your quick rapid fire top 3 from Saw 4 once again was
the mausoleum, the knife chair, and the spike trap.
Mine was the knife chair, followed by the spike trap, and then the bedroom trap. Okay, so moving on to Saw 5. This is going to be another very interesting one because I'm curious to see what your picks are. Go ahead and give me your number 1 favorite trap from Saw 5.
This is so hard.
It was a little difficult on this, shockingly. Like, I wasn't expecting Saw 5 to be as difficult as it was.
Yeah. I feel like even though this film overall is the first one where I feel like it's so difficult to get into if you hadn't seen the other ones. And maybe there's a few plot points that are a little slower the second time you watch it. Like, the traps are just so good in this one. So this was like pulling teeth, although we'll get to that later. So my number 1 was Strom's water cube, where he has to, well, he doesn't have to do anything. This is like it's also so strange because it just starts. There's no tape, there's no instructions, it's just drowned. And he pulls.
Though there is a tape. There is a tape. It's just in the hallway before he gets into the room. Jigsaw says, "Do not proceed," and he chooses to proceed. So he did get a tape. It's just not in the room.
Fair enough. Okay, yeah, that's true.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's a good point. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, it's time to rewatch the series. But yeah, so first of all, that's one of the very first traps we've seen someone escape. I mean, technically Cecil escaped his, and there's a few others, but like actually escaped and lived, and had the chance to leave or do whatever. And the way he does it is so badass. It's so awesome. I just remember being in the theater, just like my jaw dropped. I was like, he did it! He's gonna survive! And of course, all the speculation afterwards, like, did Hoffman leave the pen in his pocket on purpose? Which in retrospect feels kind of like one of those crazy conspiracy theories. Yeah, like Hoffman is all about self-preservation. But, like back then we were like, is Hoffman like really, we had that recruitment storyline in Saw 4. I was like, could he be trying to recruit Strom? Like, is that what he's doing? Is he, That was one of the crazy conspiracy theories that was going on at the time. But I mean, it was just so fascinating because it broke so many rules, and because like we saw someone survive in a way that wasn't intended. Actually, now I think about it, Eric Matthews was probably the first one who was like, you weren't supposed to escape that way, and that's so fascinating. So that was my number one. And then again, the way it's shot, I think it's a return to those like really frantic 360, really back and forth shots, and him shaking it, and it just feels very intense the whole time. So that was my number one.
Yeah, I'll talk about this now. I did have the water cube on there. I took it off. I'm now going to leave it as an honorable mention. It is a great trap. I remember because back then the Saw teasers didn't show you shit. And the Saw 5 teaser, I remember it was like some Bible quote or whatever, and then it zooms in on Strom in a trap, and then it cuts to Saw 5 title card, and we're like, uh-oh, Strom's in a trap. Like, what's gonna happen? And going in, I did not expect it to be like 10 minutes into the movie. And that he would get out of it. But it is a good trap. It is kind of meant for his execution, even though he does have a choice. He does have a tape. It was designed in a way it's like, oh no, he's definitely gonna go for it, and he's going to die. Like that was like the whole point there. It's a good trap, but there are 3 other ones I like just a little bit more. So I have to just give that one an honorable mention. But my number one, and this was a hard one to do because, again, while I like all 3 of these traps, I'm not the biggest fan of like Saw 5. I don't dislike it. It's just I look at it like if Saw is a soap opera, I look at this as a filler episode just to get us from point A to point B. There's really not much to this movie, but I do think some of the traps are pretty good here. And my number one is going to involve the Fatal 5. I'm going to say the 10 Pints of Sacrifice, which is like their final test where they got to stick their hand in the box, just because, again, all you got to do is stick your hand in the box, and had all 5 been there, or even 4 of them would have been there, like they wouldn't have had to give up as much. But the fact that they figured that out too late, it's only down to 2 of them, and he's like, put your hand in the hole. Like, first of all, I love Malik as a character. I think he's just so entertaining, and to see him again, he's kind of a wuss for the whole movie, and then in that final scene there, he's the one that's like brave enough. He's like, no, we got to do this. So I just kind of love that progression of him throughout the movie. We don't get much of it, but it's there. And again, when you see that shot of his arm after Erickson finds them, it's a gnarly shot. So my number one, I'm going to have to give it to the 10 Pints of Sacrifice here.
Yeah, that one, I don't know. Even when I was making a list, I was like, I don't know if that should be my honorary mention or my number 3, because there's just so many good ones. But yeah, that was one I thought of. It's a good list of, or a bunch of good traps whenever something like the 10 Pints of Sacrifice is one. You're like, should I put that on the list? Like, it's so good.
That's how I felt about the water cube.
Yeah, it's like, man, just tough competition in this film. So I'm just gonna, but I totally understand what you're saying. The fact that that's when they realized they all could have lived is such an emotional gut punch, combined with the fact that it's like, now you have to bleed more blood than most people could without dying, and maybe one of you will live. Maybe one of you will live. It's fantastic. And that was another one that was in the Saw escape room where you have to put your hand into. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's so I love that. It's wild, and that's why you have to have a certain number of people in your group too, because you have to have to put your hands in at the same time and line up some kind of light beam or something. But yeah, there's a part of you that's just like, no, while you're doing it. It's wild. And if the way that's shot too, again with like the really fast cuts and stuff to show the progression of time is very intense. So
there's also like a 360 cam kind of going on at one point too that I really liked.
Yeah, I put that as my honorary mention, but honestly, this is another one where it's like, I don't really know exactly where I'd rank these. These are just my favorites, but that one is an amazing scene. Absolutely.
Fair enough. All right, your number 2 from Saw 5.
My number 2 is the pendulum trap. I love the fact that he has to crush his hands because he was an abuser in order to survive. And then he does it, but it's rigged, so he dies anyways. And the guts flying across the room is
it's such a great
fantastic.
shot. I love it.
It's so good. And just even though you find out later what a terrible person he is, even rewatching it, I just wince and I feel so much empathy for him, even though he's a terrible person. And then, of course, you have that really great shot of Hoffman watching through the peephole, and you don't know it's him, I think, the first time. And then, you see him later, and he turns around, he looks shocked, and it's a great moment, and a really great opening trap, I think. So that was my number 2.
All right. Yeah, my number 2 and 3 were kind of flip-flopping, but today, as we record this, I'm going to say my number 2 is the glass coffin. I really like that trap. And again, I like the way that the glass coffin itself is lit. It's got this bluish light to it. Yeah. The rest of the room is pretty dark. It's just Strom and Hoffman. They're kind of duking it out a little bit. Strom feels like he's got the upper hand, and then Hoffman's like, not so fast. You didn't finish the tape, mister. So that whole thing. Again, it's a small, simple scene, but it's a great way to close off a Saw film. Again, while the twist may not be, super shocking or surprising, it's still an effective scene. And, you got that whole Star Wars trash compactor thing where the walls are closing in on him. Strom's trying to climb up to, it's everything about this scene that I love and I have a good time with. And it helps that you got Hello Zep playing while it's happening. That just adds to the effect as well. So today, number 2, I'm going to go the glass coffin.
Yeah. Can I change that and make that my number 1 now? Now that you're saying it.
Go ahead.
Now that you're saying it, I'm like, God, that is such a fantastic scene. I mean, Strom escaping is fantastic and it's so unexpected. But then him also not escaping is just as fantastic and unexpected, because you think he wins when he throws Hoffman in the coffin. And that smirk Hoffman gives, and
he's loving it
down. That is one of the most chilling moments, in that film. It's so good. So yeah, I think I might change that, make my number 1. Actually, it's so great. And then of course when he's climbing the walls, there's a part of you that's like, oh, is he gonna get out again? And then you see the frickin' arm bone just snap, and you're like, no.
It's so good.
And then we get to revisit that in the next film whenever Hoffman comes up and you see the Strom mush on the floor.
He's a Strom pancake.
Yeah, so that's fantastic scene. I don't know why I didn't make that number 1. It was tough. I was really going through.
That's what I'm saying. Saw 5 was tougher than I expected it to be going into this. My number 3, I gotta go the pendulum for all the reasons that you listed above. It's just a really great scene. Again, while I'm not a big fan of the Saw 5 rust look of the movie, because even the title card is all rusty, and I'm just this just feels out of place. It doesn't really go with the other 4 title cards. But while that may be a small complaint, I do like that to the scene of the pendulum itself. I think it fits really well for that. Again, Seth, puts his hand in there and he's like, all right, I got the key. I did it. I'm unlocking myself. And very much like with Carrie, he's not allowed to get out. And as you were talking about that awesome shot of when his guts spill out, it's so good. And again, if you watch the unrated version, which is typically the version you get when you buy the Blu-ray and stuff, there's a couple extra shots of that in there, which is really cool. But yeah, the pendulum, it's too good of a scene. It's a really great opener. And some of my favorite opening traps in the Saw films is when it ties directly into the plot or even the B plot. This ties directly into Hoffman's backstory, to be more specific. So I really like that aspect of it as well. So my number 3 is the pendulum.
Yeah.
But since you revised your list, what is your top 3 favorite traps from Saw 5?
My revised list, I promise I won't do this again. This was the hardest one for me, I think. There were so many good ones. My revised list is the glass coffin, and then the water cube, and then the pendulum trap.
All right. For me, my number 1 was 10 Pints of Sacrifice. My number 2 was The Glass Coffin. And my number 3 is The Pendulum. So, all right. Saw 6. This is a fun one because not only is it a fun movie, there are a lot of fun traps in Saw 6. I think our list will be similar for this one just because I think our favorites kind of align here. But go ahead with your number 1 favorite trap in Saw 6.
Yeah, this was another one that was kind of tough because I did not put the opening trap. I'll just say that now as an honorary mention. But I do love that whole idea that he needs a pound of flesh because they're people that give out predatory loans. I mean, when you have a trap that good as the opening one and it doesn't even make the top 3, you know that this is like a really solid Saw film. Okay, so for me, my number 1 was the carousel trap. I think that, the way that it's shot, the way that the acting in it, there's so many great lines, and it goes from like heartbreaking to hilarious with such ease.
Yeah, so good.
Like the first you're cracking up laughing at how desperate these people are and how she's like, I'm pregnant. No, she's not. That's one of the best moments of the film. And but then, towards the end, whenever, especially when you get down to the last person, because he saves someone right before, and then there's one person and he knows he has no chance to get saved.
He knows he's done.
Yeah, and that you look at me when you're killing me line is one of the best lines in a very different way.
Look at me! When you're killing me, you look at me!
So that is my favorite. And then, of course, it took me how many years to realize that he could only save, what was it, 2 out of the 6?
2.
Yeah, 2. And that's statistically how many people that they would they would deny their insurance claims. So the same amount of people they let live is the same amount of people that were allowed to live. Took me years to put that together, but
it took me a while as well, so don't feel bad.
Yeah, but when you do, it's like, wow, that feels so poetic. In addition to the fact that it's just a very intense scene. And it's funny, I was mentioning what we're doing to my mom and that we're rating all the traps and stuff. That's the first one she mentions. You're going to talk about the carousel trap, right? So big fan of the carousel trap in this house.
All right, Mom.
My number, yeah. It's definitely my number 1.
Yeah, for me, the number 1 in Saw 6 was an easy one. And as iconic as the reverse bear trap is, it is the most iconic Saw trap for sure. But my personal favorite, number 1 favorite trap in the whole franchise is the carousel. Because again, I love like the red strobe light thing going on. I love Charlie Clouser's score for this scene. I love, William really having to take a step back and think about what his policy is doing to people in a different way. And again, the banter between the 6 people on the carousel is so good. 1 second you're like, oh no, I hope he saves them. This guy deserves to die. Whatever, fuck him. And you go kind of back and forth with everybody. And again, you have so many good one-liners in there, especially when they're throwing each other under the bus. And she's, your parents hate you. How do you know? I sit next to you.
Yeah.
There's that whole thing.
Okay, my parents are sick. Okay, they need me. I'm all they have.
You fucking liar! Your parents hate you! They cut you off!
Shut up! That's not true!
You and this truck sit next to you!
I love them throwing each other. It's so fun. And this is the peak of what a Saw trap should be. Just fun, entertaining, a little violent. You can get violent or gross or whatever, but it has to be entertaining. And this scene is so entertaining. And again, I think the music's just right as well. So shout out to Charlie Clouser on that one. So my number 1 is also the carousel.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a pretty iconic trap.
What is your number 2?
My number 2 is probably pretty obvious. The reverse bear trap 2.0. Because it's not super poetic. I mean, other than the fact you consider Hoffman screwed Amanda over. So maybe it's poetic in that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, first of all, this is another one of those, you escaped it in a way that we didn't. Not only did we not expect you to escape it this way, you weren't supposed to escape this at all. And he does it. So he kind of has that badass moment going, kind of like Strom. but even more so because he has to disfigure himself even more, and because it feels even less like something you could escape, you know, like it really feels like a death sentence when she puts it on him. And then also it's the answer to the mystery of what's in the box, which we'd had a whole year of anticipating what's in it.
Yeah.
I don't know what we
for a whole year on House of Jigsaw, everyone was like, "What's in the box?
What's in the box? Not till you give me what's in the fucking box?
Exactly, and I don't think anybody said reverse bear trap or remodeled
Nobody guessed that. Don't let anybody lie to you.
That was not on any of our bingo cards. I think a lot of us were like, it'll be plans for Hoffman's demise. It'll be evidence against Hoffman. That was, nobody was like, there's going to be an actual trap in there. And, you know, it also makes it even more interesting when you rewatch 5.
And a package for Dr. Gordon, too, is thrown in there as well.
That, too, yeah. Yeah, it makes it even more fascinating whenever you rewatch 5 and you see her just peek in the box and then she's just like, goodbye.
And then you got the nosy lawyer like, Miss Tuck, what's in the box?
Miss Tuck, what's in the box?
Don't worry about it. None of your damn business. This wasn't up to you.
Yeah. It's even funnier when you know that there's a death trap in there and that's why she's like, I gotta get out of here.
I gotta go like now.
Yeah, so I mean, so much. So it solves a mystery and it, you know, introduces, you're like, okay, this is the end. Also, I don't even know if we were speculating at that point that there would be another one anytime soon, because this was the end of the trilogy. So I think a lot of us were like, okay, Hoffman's going to die here. They're going to wrap this up. So when he escapes, it's just like, holy shit, like your mind is just blown. And then the way it's done is so well. And then we were mentioning this last night about the unrated version versus the regular. And this, they for some reason they cut the scene where Hoffman smashes the reverse bear trap against his hand so he can break his hand free, and that is just so badass. Like that's so
trying to, because it's definitely in the unrated cut, but I don't know if it's in the I don't remember if it's in the theatrical or not, but it's definitely in the unrated for sure because that's the one I watch all the time, and it's definitely in there.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe Aaron said it was the opposite. I don't know. Maybe Aaron was wrong. But at least there's some version of it that exists apparently where they took that out. And I'm just like, why? That's such a badass scene. And then of course, when he sticks it into the glass and it starts to tear his face open, it's just everything about that scene is fantastic. So that's my very strong number 2.
All right. My number 2, again, going back to the simple stuff, I'm going The Hanging Room with Addie, the secretary, and young Alan, because these two, they're tied up with barbed wire. He's got to make a choice like, hey, are you going to choose this elderly lady who's in pretty good health and you know she's got a loving family, or are you going to pick this lonely loser over here? Like, that's essentially what Jigsaw is asking him to do, who has no family, who has nobody who's going to miss this guy, which is really fucked up, by the way. And so again, it's a great scene, and again, this is at the point where like he only dealt with the Hank thing already. He was able to survive that. He's moved on, and now he's really like picking up on the fact that he's going to have to try to save his coworkers in order to, like, he's going to have to kill some and he's going to have to save some. And again, from William's perspective, again, I don't know how close he was to either one of them. We don't go into that, but you can tell it was a really tough decision for him. Like, he didn't make that choice lightly, and I did appreciate that. And once again, Charlie's score in the scene is pretty good. And again, I love the lighting. I love that this is where we discover that we are in an abandoned zoo, which is a cool location for a Saw game. Although the one thing that does make me laugh about this scene is after he saves Addie, he's like, "You try to find a way out of here. I gotta go. I gotta keep going."
You try to find a way out of here, Addie. I have to keep going. Careful.
Such a great line.
And she's just sitting there like, how do you expect me to get out of this, dude? Like, but spoiler alert, she does get out of it. She's in a survivor group in Saw 7. We do see her later, but it's like in the moment, you're like, bro. Like, yeah, for me, my number 2, it's The Hanging Room.
Yeah, I don't have that on my list, but that is such a great trap. And what I love about it is that of all the all the tests in this movie, I think that one flies in the face of his philosophy or his algorithm formula, whatever it is, more than anything else, because he saves the elderly woman who is going to cost a lot more money for the insurance company.
Yep.
You know, and she's older, you know, so a lot of times the way the policies are written, it's, well, you know, we're going to give the care to the younger person because they have more life to live, you know, so they're more valuable and they're a better client. But then he saves, you know, the woman who's older. And I love that, yeah, it makes him a hypocrite, but he knows it's the right thing to do. And I feel like, you know, more than anything else, that really shows growth. And that's a great moment for William.
Yeah. All right. So your number 3.
My number 3 is The Acid Room. For both because of how heartbreaking it is, because I did not think I was going to like this character at that point in the film. I thought even if he changes, he's still a dick. He's still done all these terrible things. He's so heartless about it. He's so cold and corporate and just the antithesis of so many things I believe in, but you still feel for him. And there's this big part of you that thinks he might be different when he comes out of this. And he might actually go on and do some good. And then whenever that little fucker kills him, which I understand why, but whenever that little fucker kills him, you're just like, oh no. So you grieve for this character that you didn't even like 30 minutes ago, probably, or 45 minutes ago. And it's just such a well done scene too, both in terms of the emotional feelings that you experience and, you know, the way he's talking to Pamela. And then you've also got that twist too of the family's not his family, Pamela's his family.
Yep.
And so both like the way it hits emotionally, but then also just the actual scene itself is pretty gnarly. So I got to give it credit for both being an emotionally effective scene and then also being gross as fuck.
Yeah, so I kind of cheated a little bit on this one, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of went by the unrated cut, not the regular theatrical cut, because it's edited differently in both versions. So in the theatrical cut, my answer is the Reverse Bear Trap 2.0 / The Acid Room. I grouped that together as one because in the theatrical cut, you have William's whole thing playing out first, and then we finish up with Hoffman. In the unrated cut, again, the version that is widely released, they're kind of happening at like the same time. So I grouped that together for that purpose. Again, talking about Hoffman's Reverse Bear Trap, it's a great scene just to see him fighting his way out of it. As a fan, it was a little frustrating because at this point, this was only the second time we'd seen the Reverse Bear Trap, but we still hadn't seen it gone off yet because Amanda had survived hers. And, you know, you really want to see that go off. We do eventually, but, you know, just imagining it going, but Hoffman was smarter than that. He was smashing his hand. He was putting it through the glass door, or the glass window in the door, and it kind of busts open, and then he's like wiggling out of it. Like it's such a great scene with that. And while also that is happening, we're talking about the Williams stuff. I agree with you. I do feel like he's one of the few characters in the franchise where had he made it out, he genuinely would have changed his life around. And I do feel he genuinely learned his lesson after going through all that. And he's one of the very few in this franchise I think I can say that for. And that's the bitch of the ending, is that it didn't matter. Because like John was telling him,
You think it's the living that will have ultimate judgment over you, because the dead will have no claim over your soul. But you may be mistaken.
they wouldn't be in that situation if Harold didn't die. I mean, granted, many other people did die, but he just used Harold as like an example of that. And the fact that, again, this is what you did. You know, you did all this, good for you, but it's not up to you now. Tara and Brent here are going to decide if they're going to approve or deny your coverage, buddy. And that's kind of like the irony of it all. And I love that. I love that so much. It does suck because I was rooting for William throughout this movie. I really wanted him to win, and I think he would have, had he been able to get Pamela and be on his way. But Jigsaw's like, nope, you still got one final part of this left, and this one's not your decision. So again, I just love everything about that scene and just the effects. Like, I don't know how this type of acid is meant to work, but the way it works in the movie, it's very gross. It's very gross. And especially, again, talking about guts spilling out, that's another great gut spilling out moment. Hell, William's fucking in half, even.
Yeah.
So it's a great effect. So number 3, I'm gonna go Reverse Bear Trap 2.0 / The Acid Room, and I'm gonna put that together in one. And I do want to give a quick honorable mention to the Steam Room maze, which I do think is fun. I do like it, but again, I just happen to like these 3 a little bit more, and that's why I didn't quite make the cut. But I am a fan of the Steam Room maze as well.
Yeah, the Steam Room is so good. That was one I also considered for a minute, because it's just so well executed. It's such a creative idea to use Steam as a way to injure the characters. And then, like, whenever he takes it, she's okay, but, and then whenever he has to stop, then she gets burned. And then the twist at the end where she has to get the key out of him, and by that point, she's so frazzled that neither of them stop and think, there's probably a way to get that key without killing him, but
Well, William's like, I can get it.
Yeah, but she's just like so out of it, and time is running, the clock is ticking. So that's another one it's interesting to see if she had been able to be a little calmer and hadn't gone straight for the saw. No, I gotta do it this way. That would have been interesting to see how it could have been different. But
I do love the way she gets impaled. By the way, she gets impaled, turns around, and falls off the ledge. Like I love
yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah.
All right, so your top 3 from Saw 6 once again was
the Carousel, the Reverse Bear Trap 2.0, and the Acid Room.
My top 3 was the Carousel, followed by the Hanging Room, followed by Reverse Bear Trap 2.0 / the Acid Room. This one's gonna be fun. Saw 3D. The traps come alive. Do you remember that tagline?
Oh,
by the
my
way?
God! I remember.
I was like, oh, Saw 3D. The traps come alive. Oh boy, I'm very curious to know what your favorite trap in this one was.
Real quick, I remember on House of Jigsaw how people made a bunch of like memes of the traps with like little eyeballs, and like personified them. That was such a great moment in the fandom. Okay, so my number 1 trap. This one's probably super obvious. The Reverse Bear Trap. We finally got to see it go off. It went off on a major character, and the whole time it's happening, there's a part of you that's like, okay, something's going to go wrong. She's going to get out of it.
They always get out of this. Yes, exactly. Everyone gets out of this trap.
No one ever dies in a Reverse Bear Trap, and John wouldn't let anything happen to Jill. Something's going to happen, and then it doesn't, and she actually dies, and it's just as violent and gory. With all the hype up, like 7 years of waiting for this trap to be used on someone, we finally see it, and it doesn't disappoint because it's so graphic and gory and horrible. That's a lot of buildup, and it paid off. They did a great job. It was one of the most disturbing but satisfying payoffs, I think, in the series.
All right, fair enough. My number 1, it is, again, the most elaborate one of the bunch here, but I also think it's very entertaining and fun. Not as fun as something like the Carousel, but for me, my number 1's the Horsepower Trap, with the Nazis and Chester Bennington in there. And the fact, again, glued to a car seat, and, when he's got the shots of his, like, skin peeling, it's, like, really gross and messed up. I think the tape's a little silly, where Jigsaw's like, you and your girlfriend and your friend are all racists. Like, we all bleed the same color on the inside or something like that. It's like cheesy lines like that. But, it's fine, whatever. I do feel bad for Gabby, who plays Chester's girlfriend underneath the car there, because she was the winner of season 2 of Scream Queens, and that's all she got to do. Poor girl, was literally be under that car and scream and have like one line. But I do love what happens when they lose that trap, and you get to see the car drop. You know, the guy getting the chains pulled out of him, getting run over as he's strapped to the garage door, and then Chester going through the windshield. So while the trap itself may not be the best thing ever, again, I do like the peeling of the skin. You know, it's more so the aftermath that I think makes the scene worth it. So that for me is my number one of Saw 3D. But Saw 3D, it's a low fucking bar in terms of the traps. It's like, you know what? Looking at these set of traps in Saw 3D, this one should be fairly easy, I guess.
I mean, I disagree slightly in terms of, because I struggled a little bit in terms of like the emotional traps. There's only one I think I felt anything. There's no emotional traps in this, so it's more like about gore, about the effects, about is any of it kind of poetic, and like the acting and stuff. It's not as much about how did you feel about the characters and stuff while this was happening. So in some ways it's easier because you can just look at it as from the traps, from the perspective of how complicated is the trap and how cool does it look instead of everything else going on. But I'm glad you put that as your number one, because I was thinking it's such a quick trap, but it's such a powerful scene. And that was my second pick, was the you called it the horsepower trap. I thought it was the junkyard.
Yeah,
but
again,
either way.
We don't know the official names of half of these, so I went to like the Saw wiki to like write some of them down. Be like, okay, that one's titled the horsepower trap or whatever. Okay. Because like some of them, it's like, it don't fucking matter.
Yeah. The one with Chester Bennington. And that's another thing I love about that trap too, is that he was such a huge Saw fan. I love that he got to be in it. And like you said, just the effects of the skin peeling. Every time I watch that scene, the effect never fades. I never get desensitized to it. I always wince. I always have to look away for a second. It's so well done. And it's such a messed up concept of like having to pull your skin off basically to reach for this lever that'll save everyone. And then, of course, watching it all go off is almost like watching dominoes, topple over. It's like a one mechanism after another, and it's executed very well. So that was a great scene.
All right, and that was your number 2.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my number 2 is going to be the Silent Circle. This is where Bobby has to pull the fish hook out of his publicist, out of her stomach. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a really neat trap, because again, the more noise you make, the quicker these 50,000 spikes that are in Saw 3D are gonna come and pierce you. And that's got to be rough to have a fish hook in there and you got to pull it out. Like it's that one's hard to watch just because it makes me a little bit queasy, and I'm very desensitized by this stuff. But that one makes me a little bit queasy. And again, you have a great moment where Bobby doesn't succeed. He does get the key out, but she ends up dying. And then Bobby has this moment. Why would you just shut the fuck up? Like it just.
Why would you just shut the fuck up? Just need to shut up!
By the way, I love Sean Patrick Flannery. I will watch that guy in anything because I think he's just so likable on screen and off. Maybe not so much on screen here, but he's entertaining in this movie. So, I'll give him that. I think for me, I have to go with the Silent Circle on this one.
Yeah, that is a fantastic trap. And like you said, we said that the traps weren't that great in this. I think that they were. I think that it's just we don't feel a whole lot for these characters, so maybe it's not as emotional as the last film. But in terms of the concept, that's a great one. It's very ironic too. She's a publicist. She uses her mouth to get him out of trouble, but she can't speak.
No evil. They were doing that whole thing too. The speak no evil, see no evil, hear no evil.
Yeah, that was a good one.
All right, your number 3.
My number 3, I could not find.
Oh, your number 3D. Your number 3D.
I couldn't find the name for this one. I think it's like the the bull, the brazen bull, but I called it the nipple trap.
So the one with Joyce, that one.
Yeah. So what I love about this is the fact that it's the thing he claimed that he had already beaten.
Yes.
And it falls into the realm of possibly an impossible trap, because even though he almost does it, there's a part of you that's like, well, you know, can the pectoral muscles actually support you while you're doing what he claimed he was doing with moving the, you know, the switches and all that stuff. And it's like, if it is impossible, it's his own fault for claiming that he did it. So it's one of those things where it's like, even if it is a rigged trap, it's like, well, I'm not exactly shedding tears. But then again, Joyce is the one. So it adds stakes in that way. Because if it had just been him, I don't think that we would have cared that much. But because it was someone who was innocent, you know, and I think the fan base, including myself, were kind of mad at that. Like, Joyce didn't do anything. But like, how many times?
Yeah, but that's his punishment, though. That's his punishment for what he did.
Yeah, I mean,
it
neither
sucks though, because she is innocent. She did nothing. She wasn't in on the scam. You do feel bad for Joyce, but you know.
Yeah. But then again, neither did Diana and Allison and a lot of characters.
That's true. That's very true. Little Corbett there.
Yeah, that end up being collateral damage in one way or another. So, you know, it was smart to include her because then it adds stakes. And then she's also the symbol of everything he gained by lying. Because, you know, she probably wouldn't have, or possibly at least wouldn't have gotten with him if, you know, he hadn't had the wounded, I'm a survivor, I'm trying to help people and lift them up persona. So he's a phony, and she's everything he gained from being a phony, and now he doesn't get to have her anymore. The only thing I would have changed about this trap, the only thing is that I would have made it public somehow. Either make it...
Yes!
Make it...
I would have done it in the public square that's in the opening of the movie. That's exactly where I would have done it. And I think, I have talked to Kevin about this, but I think at one point they wanted to, and then something changed. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I think Kevin or Marcus or Patrick had mentioned that somewhere. But yeah, no, I would have preferred that as well. I agree.
Yeah, it would have made the opening trap feel a little more logical, because it's like, why is this public? And I guess the idea is that, like, because now there's more followers and stuff, it's becoming like a social phenomenon. And I think that was probably something that kind of got lost in the fact that this was supposed to be 2 films. But I think that would have been interesting in terms of making it public, making his shame public, making him be known as the fake that he is. But then I also think it would have made the first trap make a little more sense as to why that was public too. Because it's like, well, that's kind of the theme now, is, you know, your public shame and, you know, is going to be known to the world now. So, but I mean, other than that, I think it's a fantastic trap, and it's definitely one of the better ones in this film.
Yep. That is my number 3 as well. I do want to give an honorable mention after I get done talking about this, but yeah, as I said, I agree. It should have been made public. It should have taken place in that town square. But again, I also really love that Jigsaw, and again, Jigsaw's got some sass in this, where he's like, "You supposedly survived this once already, so it should be easy for you to do." But I love that on paper, though. It's like, yeah, this is what you said you survived, so now let's see you actually do it. Is it survivable? We're gonna find out. And again, Sean Patrick Flannery was at some Saw panel like a year or so ago, and he's talking about his traps, and he's like, yeah, I poked holes in my titties.
Mine was poking holes in my titties, because I actually did. So the prosthetic is an artificial limb. They made pectoral covers. They were about 2 millimeters thick, and if you see the gauge of the hook, for me to only pierce the 2 millimeter rubber and not pierce my skin, I would have had to shoot the scene like this, which my chicks keep being burned alive. I got to put a little bit of urgency. So I went up and I lodged it in there, and I ripped my areolas. The only reason I know there's a term called areola is because the doctor told me, you've lacerated your areola. I'm like, I think it's my titty, but he goes, no, the areola is an anatomical term for breast. So now my right nipple dangles like a number 2 eraser. You know, when you got too aggressive in kindergarten, it's a flopper. This one's a flopper.
He said something like that too when I met him. He was like, I was talking about the trap and how great it was, and he was like, oh, my nipples hurt just thinking about it.
So yeah, again, I'm like, all right, let's see him actually do it for real. And then he puts the hooks in, and then he's got to, pull himself up. And I always like to imagine the Back to the Future theme, da da da, when he's trying to plug it in. But no, it's a fun scene. It's a cool like final test for him, because again, your reward should you succeed is you get your wife. You guys get to go and have a happy life. Now she knows the truth. Now that's behind you. But if you fail, you're gonna lose her, and that is your punishment. And so I love that aspect of it as well. So yeah, for me, it is the Brazen Bull scene here. But I do want to give an honorable mention, because I love the idea of this trap, but not so much the execution. That is, again, this is another hangman scene. It's where Bobby has to direct Kale through this room that's like missing all of the floor, and they have to walk on the planks. So that's another one that I like a lot more in concept than I do in execution, but that one's still fun to watch. And then another honorable mention I do want to mention is when Bobby has to pull his teeth out. Again, how those numbers got on the back of his teeth to begin with. It's rough. Everyone hates going to the dentist. Everyone hates getting their teeth pulled. But I didn't really include this because I'm like, well, is this a full-on like trap? And ultimately I decided, well, no. Yeah. It's a part of his game, but I wouldn't call it a full-on trap, so I couldn't put it on the list because of that. But I did want to give those little honorable mentions real quick. But any final thoughts on that?
No, not really. Other than, do you ever think that while Bobby was pulling himself on those chains, he was like, why the fuck did I come up with this trap? Why didn't I think of something easier? Like, you just got to reach your hand in acid, and that's it. Why did I do this?
Yeah, right?
No, that's all I got.
All right. So for Saw 3D, your top three were
the reverse bear trap, finally in action, the junkyard trap or horsepower trap, and the brazen bull / nipple trap. That's my name for it.
My three were the horsepower trap, and then the silent circle, and then finally the brazen bull. Let's go to Jigsaw. Again, this is another one that I'm very curious to hear your answers on, because trap-wise, I don't really think there's all that much here. So what is your favorite trap from Jigsaw?
Yeah, that was this was one of the easiest ones, because there's really not that many that I like in this film. My number one by far, though, is the 3 syringes trap. I like this one because it is one of the few poetic traps in this film. And, I'm not a huge fan of this film. I did enjoy it when I rewatched it, probably because the bar was so low. But like in general, it's one of my least favorites, especially in terms of the characters. I don't really connect with anyone. But I love the way the scene was executed. I love the realization the actress has whenever she realizes that the answer is how much money she stole out of the woman's purse. Because the woman died because she couldn't get something she needed in her purse. And I think that that's probably my favorite trap for that reason. And also the fact that in a twisted way, it's really interesting how she realizes it and she still dies because they take so long to do it. And by the time they actually stick her with it, it's mostly just to save themselves. So that's kind of interesting too. So yeah. That was an interesting one. And the solution was so simple too. So that was kind of also interesting.
Yeah. My favorite one of Jigsaw, this is my least favorite Saw film. There's things about it I like and I enjoy. And I do pop it on occasionally, but very rarely. Like if I'm in the mood to watch a Saw film, I'm not putting Jigsaw on just on its own. Like I'll do it in like marathons or if I'm trying to do a little bit of research or whatever. But I would say my favorite trap in this one is the cycle trap, or the blender trap, as a lot of people might know it. It's with Mitch. You got the brake handle there. Again, there's really not much to it, but I do enjoy the aesthetic of it. I like that he's hanging upside down. I like how Anna tries to cheat a little bit and it doesn't really work. Again, it's one of the few like trap scenes in this movie that I'm somewhat entertained by. So I'm gonna say the blender trap for my number one from Jigsaw.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of feelings for that one. I barely remember it. I've only seen Jigsaw a couple times, but I do remember that was
Look, I don't blame you.
yeah, so I don't remember that one too well. But yeah, I do remember that was the one where it was like he was punishing the guy for selling his nephew a bad bike, and that was was like Jigsaw has a nephew. We're finally finding that out now.
Yeah, that's the thing. We never get that answered. Is that like John's blood relative, or is that on Jill's side? Like, what's the deal here, John?
So that's the part I remember most from that trap was the revelation. Oh, he had a nephew, I guess.
All right, you're number 2.
My number 2 is the bucket trap. Just because, yeah. I think that it's interesting, and I like the fact that it was one of the few traps that John failed, and that he admits that it failed, and that he actually... I like it for what it does for John's arc, I think, more than anything else. And it is visually pretty cool. I think they used this for the promo, so we actually saw a picture of this, and we were like, ooh, what is this? And it's a really good visual.
I believe it was the first still image that they released was like all of them with like the bucket still on their heads, and they were just like in this room. I'm pretty sure somebody can in the comments correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was the first like still image we ever saw from Jigsaw.
Yeah, that was interesting. And then I like that John was like, you know, it actually made John realize something, which never happens in these movies. So that was kind of interesting. You know, he was like, it was an honest mistake. He wasn't like this chronically negligent person. And I don't want him to die because he made an honest mistake, because I just made an honest mistake, you know, when I gave him too much of the drug. So I love both the twist of that and the fact that it's kind of a development moment for John as well. I didn't love the fact that Logan was like yet another apprentice, but I mean, it's okay. It's, not just that he's an apprentice, but that he was there all along, kind of.
I think that was mainly the issue, because I think we all expected, like, it's obviously going to be somebody new that can hopefully carry on this franchise going forward. It was the fact that, he was there before Hoffman and Amanda, and like, what?
Yeah, and it seemed to be like, and he might have done some of the medical traps, and it's like, no, we didn't need that. If you're gonna bring him in, let him have another specialty. Let him be like an engineer or something. So now we have 2 engineers, and that makes more sense. I don't know, but I like the fact that like John realized he screwed up and kind of gave forgiveness to someone. It's a character moment for John, so that's why I like that one.
All the reasons that you just talked about is the reason why this one's my number 2. So, number 2, I'm going to give this one to the bucket room as well. Just to get, again, aesthetically, I got the Saw blues back a little bit. That's kind of been gone for a while, especially in Saw 3D. There was like no Saw blue in that movie. But yeah, we kind of got that back a little bit. And again, it's more so about the payoff of the scene and the little twist or whatever that, John, like, this didn't exactly go his way. And I love whenever it's very rare in the franchise, but it has happened a couple times where things don't go the way that John had planned it out to. And now he's got to like think fast, how's he going to react to it? And I always find that stuff very, very interesting. And again, it's kind of like the 10 pints of sacrifice thing, where you need to sacrifice a little bit, but you can absolutely survive it if you do it right. So it kind of reminds me of that. So I'm gonna say the number 2 is the bucket room.
Yeah. And then for my last one, I don't know what this one's called, but the shotgun scene with John and the 2 survivors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I liked that. Well, I kind of liked that. I don't like the traps in this one for the most part. Because first of all, it's when we actually find out like what they've done, and both of them are, and actually I think I like the irony that Ryan's the one that's kind of the dick, that we're like, we don't like him for most of the film. He's reckless. He endangers the group when he tries to go his own way.
Guy.
Yeah, but then like his mistake was like he killed people because he was drunk driving, which is kind of shitty. But then he blamed someone, which was really shitty. I think that's worse than actually the accident. But then I think her name is Anna. Or Anna. Anna's crime is so much worse. She shakes her baby to death and frames her husband, and he kills himself.
That's dark shit.
Like, I was like, I did not expect this from her. Like, I knew, he was kind of a dick, but so like, and they kind of put you in a situation where you think one of them might escape and the other one might not. And I'm like, well, I didn't expect to be rooting for Ryan because that's, crappy, but geez, the other one's just like, 10 times worse. So that was an interesting element to it, was suddenly I'm rooting for the guy that was the asshole the whole movie. Kind of like a lesser version of Xavier, not quite such a aggressive bully, but still kind of, bossed the others around until he got disabled. And then, yeah, like the trap itself is okay. Like the whole idea that you weren't supposed to fire the bullet, the key was inside. I'm like, I feel like there could have been better clues. I really feel like John didn't want anybody getting out of this one. And sometimes you can tell. But he did at least try to give them a clue about you can't, what was it? Something about going backwards and, you have to move forward or something like that. Or no, you do have to go backwards. So
Now, if you want to achieve your freedom, you have to learn. You have to realize that you've been doing it backwards. So, I'm going to give you an opportunity to turn it all around.
like there was a hint, and I kind of knew. I was like, whoever pulls that trigger is going to die. But I didn't know. I didn't know the keys were in it though, and that was going to be. So it's kind of like the Adam Gordon thing all over again. It's like, ah, crap. Now you've obliterated your only way to escape.
Yeah, I didn't know what this trap was called either, so I just looked it up. It's listed as shotgun keys, which works for me.
Okay.
And shotgun keys is my number 3 as well.
Yeah.
Because again, to me, it's more so the dialogue in the scene, because I just love when John starts going off on these tangents, like when he's like, "Did you know that pigs are highly compassionate animals?" I'm like, bro, what are we talking about here? Like, what are we doing?
Did you know that pigs are highly compassionate animals? They show distress if they see any other animal, including humans, suffering.
But like, I love Tobin's performance as his character so much that I will watch him talk all day. I don't care what he's talking about. I will sit there and listen. But yes, it's the fact that we are 8 movies deep now. We as an audience know to listen to Jigsaw very explicitly. So when he says you've been doing it backwards, like, okay, I see where this is gonna go. So it's not so much the effect of the scene; it's more so the dialogue. And yeah, that twist with Anna really. It affected me in a way, because I was pissed because she's like the only one in the barn that I kind of somewhat liked for the majority of the movie. And then you find out that's Sika and you're like, well, I guess I don't like you no more. So again, that was a really it's an effective twist. I mean, if you could even call that, it's a twist, but not on the level of like a traditional Saw twist. But so yeah, that one kind of pissed me off a little bit, but in the best way. And you're like, yeah, well, now I hope she does die. But for me, what makes the scene so great is just John's dialogue. And he's got that whole thing. Are the games simple? Best ones are. I agree, because as we were talking about, some of my favorite traps in the series are the simple ones. And this is just another simple one.
That definitely felt like it was directly aimed at the fans. Like, we know what you like. We've been on the HOJ boards. We know that you say you like the reverse bear trap and the simple ones. Yeah, it was definitely a nod.
So Jigsaw, your top 3 once again.
My top 3 are the 3 syringes trap, the bucket trap, and the shotgun key trap.
All right. Mine was the blender trap, or the cycle trap, whatever you want to call it. Then the bucket room, and then the shotgun keys. So, all right, we got 2 more to go. 2 more. Let's get into Spiral from the Book of Saw. What is your favorite trap from Spiral?
All right. Yeah, Spiral's another one that it's not one of my favorites, but the traps are pretty good and pretty gory, especially 9 movies in. You think that they start getting fatigue and reusing more things, but they were pretty original. My top one is the glass grinder. I think that is really a great concept of glass flying around. I think that visually they did a good job of showing it, cutting the characters, and being really effective. And that's all I got. I mostly judge these based on visuals, for the most part, and originality.
The interesting thing about Spiral is these are all dirty, corrupt cops. Like, you don't really care or even give a shit about really any of them. You want to see them get punished, as opposed to some of the previous victims we might be a little sympathetic for. In this case, like, no, they're all shitty. But my favorite one in Spiral has to be Finch's finger trap. Because again, stuff with fingers, again, if you do it right and do it effectively, which I think this scene does, it's pretty gross. Just to see him slowly ripping away. It's the and then again, this is not the first time we've had electrocution involved in a trap, because we had that in the Fatal 5 trials. You know, Hoffman's chair was supposed to be electrified if Eric Matthews had stepped off the ice, but to see it done here with Fitch, you're like, okay, this scene is cool. The only thing I would change about this scene is that he wakes up, he listens to the tape, and then it cuts away to something else before we come back to it later. I wish we didn't have that pause break in between. I really wish we kind of just let the scene play out and then, find the crime scene later. That was just like an editing choice I didn't necessarily agree with. But the scene itself, I think is pretty damn good for the most part. I really don't have any complaints there.
Yeah, that is a really good one. And that's my second pick as well.
Okay.
So, yeah. The only thing I want to add is I think it has something to do, like the tape, to something about him using his fingers.
Yes.
Grabbing things he wasn't supposed to or something.
He pulled the trigger. He shot a guy who gave him the fucking finger when he pulled him over. But yeah.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah, I liked that element too. That was really a really nice touch. And yeah, I don't have anything else to add. That was my second pick. It's a great scene.
Well, to kind of mirror you, my number 2 is the glass grinder, and I really don't have much else to add other than what you said. I think it's cool visually. Again, it feels very classic Saw, because there's a couple traps in this movie, while they're fun traps, they don't feel like traditional Saw, and I don't think they were supposed to, because again, Spiral is very much his own thing, but that third act was when we do get a lot of like the classic traditional Saw stuff, and the glass grinder feels like that. Especially, I love when it starts off and Zeke's just like, oh shit, like he knows exactly what's about to happen. I love that. The whole, like, you could, stand there, or you could save him or throw away the key. I'm like, okay, so it's in the fucking trash can. Easy peasy. So again, that's a little nitpick thing, but again, I think it's a fun trap for what it is. I really don't have much else to say on it. There's really, I wouldn't say entertainment value here, but it's cool to watch. So
it's a really neat idea.
Yeah, it's a neat idea, for sure. Especially coming from a guy who's in recovery from being an alcoholic. I think that fits with that character pretty well too. But all right, your number 3 from Spiral.
My number 3 was the hot wax trap. Again, just because visually it looks really cool, and it's an idea that 9 movies in, they haven't done anything with hot wax, and not a whole lot of things with drowning. I mean, we do have the pig vat, and then you have the hint of someone drowning in Saw 5 with Strom, but I don't think we've actually seen anyone drowned. And definitely not in this way. So, and then you've got Zeke trying to save her, and her skin, because they have to, right? And her skin comes up because that's the whole reason he has to try to save her, so we can get that cool visual, but it works really well. So that was my third pick.
My third is also the hot wax as well, because again, the effects are really good. I also love that the actress for most of the scene, like, she's doing it. Like, they did have a stunt person come in later, but like Darren talks about this. Again, I don't remember if it was a commentary or a behind the scenes thing or whatever, but he talks about, it's like, yeah, for a lot of the scene, like, it's her taking all this. So that had to have been hell to do that for hours now. So I got to give her props there. And again, it's kind of like a race against time thing because Zeke is trying to find her. He's trying to get to her. I love when O'Brien's like, she's down in the fucking basement.
He's got her.
Who's got her?
The killer has Angie.
Look, I guess you didn't hear. The killer just attacked a cop at 3rd and Beeman.
That was just a diversion to get us out of the precinct.
She's down in the fucking basement.
But yeah, he rushes down there, and then the shitty part is by the time he gets there, it's already done. Like, she's already dead. And you do kind of feel bad for Zeke in that moment because, while we don't know too much about Angie's corruption at this point, we kind of find that out later. You could tell that he at least had some kind of care for Angie. And, you know, to lose her had to have, you know, hurt him at least a little bit. Whereas like somebody like Fitch, like he didn't give a shit if Fitch died. Angie, he cared a little bit more. So that's going to be my number 3 for all those reasons.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
So your top 3 from Spiral were...
The glass grinder, the finger trap, and the hot wax trap.
And mine were the finger trap, the glass grinder, and then the hot wax trap. So we had the same 3, just in a slightly different order.
Yeah.
All right. Now we get to the final one so far. Saw X. This one's going to be tough, I think. I'm not sure how much we're going to align here. I'm sure we might have 1 or 2 that might be the same, but your number 1 favorite trap from Saw X.
This one was tough, and I still kind of was flip-flopping on some of them, but I think my number 1 is the bone marrow extractor trap. I think that, first of all, this was fun to watch people argue about online.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
About she should have still lived. It wasn't fair. The thing
Those
was
are the best
reading
Saw
it.
traps of like what you would do in that situation. I'm like, look, until you're put in that situation, you can't say how you would react. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think that it was super gory. It was executed well.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I loved how poetic it was in terms of she was pretending to do those tests, and now she actually has to make the extractor, you know, she actually has to do something like that in order to survive. And then, you know, this is another one where most of the characters being tested are pretty despicable, so you don't care about them, and yet you're rooting for her, which is not always the case in some of these traps. Like, you know, with Ivan, it's kind of like, I don't know. I don't think I want him to get out. Yeah, and then in Spiral too, I didn't give a shit about any of them. But then something about the actress, the way it's done, the way they plead immediately, and that they're all kind of desperate. You know, they all, except Celia, they all kind of needed the money, so they weren't victims by any means, but they were kind of pawns. So you're rooting for her, and then for her to actually make it hit the thing and then she dies anyways. I don't know. There was a part of me that was really torn because I was like, I get that she was desperate. I get that she was kind of sucked into it, but it's a really awful thing they did. So I kind of enjoyed seeing it, but then I also was kind of, I had conflicted feelings. So that's a good thing, I think.
That's a very good thing in terms of the Saw trap. Yeah.
So
for me, my number 1 favorite trap of Saw X was actually the easy one. To me, this was a landslide, no contest. My favorite trap in Saw X. It's the bloodboarding trap with John and Carlos. Again, Charlie's score kicks in again. And this one's emotional because, as we were talking about, I love when shit doesn't happen the way that John had planned it. Carlos coming in was a consequence of his own actions. You know, he bonded with Carlos for like the day he was there or whatever. And now he's getting thrown into the mix and things are kind of not going according to plan. And, you know, you have Carlos looking at it from Carlos' perspective, like he doesn't know that John is Jigsaw. This was a guy who was very nice to him. He helped him fix his bike. They had a nice conversation. Like, that's all he knows John as. So of course he's going to try to help John out. Of course he's trying to save him. And it's just such a sweet moment with that kid who is an MVP. I don't know the actor's name off the top of my head. I hope that kid goes places because
You are a warrior, my boy. A warrior.
because he is great in Saw X. And again, to see John even get a little bit emotional, like, no, don't touch nothing. I got this. Don't worry about it. Like that whole thing, no hala, Carlos, that whole thing. It's so good. And then Amanda, again, because it's not going according to Amanda's even freaking out. Like, stop it, you're killing him. Although I do say, like, yeah, Amanda, that's kind of the whole idea there. But anyways, but like to see Amanda like so distraught about it too. Oh my god! Like, to me, this is not only the best trap in the movie for me, I think it's the best scene in the movie. Because again, it is kind of a culmination of the story thus far. It's kind of all kind of led to this moment. So for me, number one, the bloodboarding trap.
Yeah, that was my number two, and I think that for all the reasons you mentioned. And then also, there's just the fact that it's the first time we've seen a child directly in the games, not just kidnapped, not just sitting in a room, but like actually, and that's a shock value. I know not everybody liked it, but I thought that it was interesting in terms of, this happens sometimes whenever you're doing things like this, that when things don't go according to plan. And of course, the relief that when the boy lives, obviously, because John's gonna live, so the boy's fate is.
And then that was the thing too that I forgot to mention. It's like, we know the fate of John and Amanda. We know nothing happens to them at this point in time, but we don't know what's gonna happen to that kid. And I know that they were kind of hesitant to do that at first. Like, do we put a kid in a trap? Do we not? And I love that they decided to go for it, because I think it makes the scene so much better that it's there. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I had to talk about that.
Yeah, and that was my only other thing, too. There was a part of me when I was watching it, I was like, they're not really going to kill a kid. So I kind of felt like I knew things were going to go. If there's any negative to that trap, it's the fact that because it was a kid and not just like a likable character, I had a very strong feeling that everything was going to be okay. But it's still really intense to watch, and you don't know for sure the first time you're watching it. And even rewatching it is just like, oh, God, to see a completely innocent person being tortured like that, it just really makes you hate Cecilia so much and want to see her come to the worst possible end. So yeah, it's fantastic for all the reasons that you mentioned. And then also the fact that it's the first time we've seen John really be in a trap.
Very vulnerable too. Yeah.
Yes. So it's good for all those reasons. Yeah, it's a great scene.
All right, so that was your number two, right? If I'm keeping track correctly. All right, my number two, we just talked about this, the Valentina wire saw trap there. Because again, I wasn't necessarily rooting for her character, but I am rooting for her to survive because I don't want it to get too gross. Because again, I'm pretty desensitized, but there are on occasion times I get a little bit squeamish, and when she's sawing away at her leg and when we get those close-up shots, it's a tough watch. And so I love that stuff. And again, the way she's really going for it too. And then not just that, but you have everybody else in the room like reacting to it. John and Amanda are like spectating it. Like, because again, this is like a sport to them. They love it in a way. Well, Amanda's very hesitant, which I do like. That at this point in the timeline, she's still kind of questioning it. Like, are we really doing the right thing here? So that's also part of it too. But yeah, I think the effects are really good. I think the actress was really good. And then there is a really great shot at the end of it all where Cecilia's in focus, and then behind her, out of focus, is Valentina's like head coming off and her body falling onto the floor. And I love the way that was done, because Cecilia's in the forefront, but you could definitely see it happen in the background. I love the way that happened. So yeah, that is my number two.
Yeah, it's a great scene.
All right,
absolutely.
You're number three.
I just love.
Oh, go ahead.
So I just love, again, I should have mentioned, I just love how everybody argued she should have lived and this is bullshit. Like, so many people really felt that with her, and were upset that she didn't, or that, I don't know, I guess it didn't register quite in time or something, and I love that. I love how upset people got on her behalf. That was fantastic. Okay, so my number 3, and this I feel very strongly about the first two. The third one, I have a few problems with it, but I still like the idea a whole lot, and I thought it was a really neat concept. Was the brain surgery trap with I think it was Mateo, who pretended to be the one that did the surgery to remove John's cancer. And obviously it was just a fraud. He didn't do anything. And so he has to perform brain surgery on himself to release a certain amount of fluid, I think, in order to survive. And he fails because he's not, I don't think a real brain surgeon could do that to themselves, but, you know, he has no idea what he's doing. And my only critique with this one is I wish we could have seen it more. Because it does just kind of close up, and then, which is my only thing I don't like about it. But I love the idea behind it, and I think that this movie hit really close to home at the time because my dad had cancer and was looking at alternative treatments, and actually went to a place a lot like the one in the film, except that place actually helped him. So the idea of someone running a scam just like that, like, I wanted to see some of them pay. And he was, out of the 3, I felt he was the least sympathetic. So I felt nothing but pure satisfaction whenever he died. It was so cathartic.
But Mateo's something else.
Yeah. Because Gabrielle, I don't know why. I wasn't as sympathetic to her as a lot of people are, but she is a little sympathetic. So seeing her survive her trap I was like, okay, that's fine. I didn't feel as strongly about it, but with Mateo, I was just like, yeah, that's what you get. So that was my experience. That's my number 3.
All right. My number 3, again, my first 2 were pretty easy. This one I'm kind of flip-flopping on. Even up to this moment right now, I'm still flipping on it. As much as I love Gabriella's character and I love Gabriella's trap, it's really good. I think I'm just going to give her the honorable mention here. And I'll talk about that more in a minute. But I'm going to say my number 3 is the pipe bomb trap with Diego. Because, again, it's so great. He's got to cut into his arms. And what's really interesting, I missed this the first time around. But this is a little clue to the twist at the end of the movie. In the beginning of that scene, and he sees John standing there, he's like, I told you what you wanted to know. I told you who you're looking for. And I don't know what was going on the first time, but I just didn't pick up on it, or I didn't think about it too much. And when we get to the end, we find out, oh, that's how he knew all the information on where to find them all, blah blah blah. That was really cool to see that on a rewatch. And again, I love the trap itself, and you almost think that Diego's not going to make it because he's running low on time, very fast. But he does make it. He does survive. And then I love how John comes out with a little first aid kit as if that's going to fucking help the guy much. Bro, you need a fucking doctor, not a fucking first aid kit. But hey, it's the gesture that counts. I think that one, again, it's a fun, intense, fast-paced scene. I'm gonna go with Diego's pipe bomb trap. But again, I do like the Gabriella character a lot. I do like her trap, but didn't quite crack the top 3. And again, I just decided that I was flipping this whole episode. I'm like, where do I put that one? I'm like, which one's my number 3 for Saw X? Also, I got to give a quick honorable mention. We don't really see the finishing results of this trap, but the tummy tickler has to get a mention in here from the post-credits scene with Hoffman and Henry and John in the bathroom, just because the scene's so fucking awesome. I don't even care what the trap does. It's such a good scene. So shout out to the tummy tickler as well.
And that name too. That's such an unominous name for a
I don't know
trap.
if that's the real name or not, but that's what I'm going.
I like it.
All right, so your 3 for Saw X.
My 3 are the bone marrow extraction trap, the blood board, and then the brain surgery trap.
All right, my top 3 was the bloodboarding trap, and then I went with what did I say for my second one? I don't remember now. The wire saw trap. Yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, in last place, we got Diego's pipe bomb trap there. So that's it, guys. That was our top 3 favorite traps from every Saw movie. Again, give us yours down in the comment section below. Or if you guys don't want to write all that out, just give us like your top 3 in the whole franchise if you want to do that. This was fun. This was a fun episode. It was a great idea.
This was so fun. I had such a great time. And I love critically thinking through, what makes a good trap, what makes a scene work. Sometimes it's just the trap itself, especially in Spiral. Like some of the best traps are just watching these really innovative ideas that are different from other things we've seen. But then sometimes it's just all about the emotional resonance of the story and what it built up to. So yeah, there's definitely so many things that can make a trap awesome or have it fall short. And this was so fun to go through all of them and think about what the best traps were.
Yeah, for sure. So guys, I don't know when we're going to do the next episode. Again, we'll have to talk about it and find out whenever we can squeeze it into our schedule. I do want to kind of make kind of an announcement, but not like a full-on announcement. I'll give you a little tease. So I've been talking with a couple people, and we do have a couple guests booked for the September-October seasons. Again, depending on if we're going to do another episode in between that, I don't know. We'll have to talk about it. But I know September, probably a September episode. We're going to have a special guest on, and we're definitely going to have one on in October somewhere as well. So we got 2 already booked coming on. I'm excited to, start announcing that, but her and I have to talk off air about what we're going to do next for our next episode. But by the way, guys, if you guys have suggestions or ideas, let us know too, because we're open to that as well. There's so much to talk about and dive into in the world of Saw. Again, we talked about this briefly on the last episode, but eventually at some point we're going to do an episode on the Saw 4 script that we never ended up seeing, because there's a lot of similarities, but there's also a lot of differences, and that'll be fun to dive into. Don't know when we're going to do that, but that's another episode that I would love to do. Anything else? Any final thoughts on episode 2 here, or the traps of Saw that we maybe didn't mention or talk about that you kind of wanted to give a shout out to? Anything like that?
That's tough. I feel like we covered most of the really good ones. By
the way, I'm so thankful you didn't pick the public execution trap from Saw 3D. Thank God I didn't talk about that one.
Although I do love I think we're breaking up with you, Dina. In terms of like best worst lines, that's one of my favorites. If there's any just off the top of my head to give a shout out to, I think I think we did good. I think we gave honorable mentions to all the ones.
I think so too.
We covered a lot, so I think we did.
We did.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, and you got nothing else left you wanted to say before we kind of wrap up?
No, just that this was so much fun, and it's got me hyped for the next one, whatever they decide to do. So.
Oh yeah, me too. All right, guys. So that'll do it for us. So until next time.
Game over.